First, let me show you some XPath examples. This is a sample web page in my XPath playbook. Click on Inspect and click the username input box. Now right click here, copy and copy full XPath. Now in the DevTools console, let us check this XPath expression $x and give this copied absolute XPath within double quotes, and it is finding it. But the problem is that these absolute paths break if the DOM changes. Even if the developer adds any div within it, this will not work. Now you can notice that here the user ID always starts with user underscore. So we can use the starts with XPath function. So this one matches the stable prefix because it starts with ID always starts with user underscore. Another example of using robust XPath is that first we anchor to label, which is the label here, and this contains username, and then use following sibling. So this survives the wrappers and reordering. After these examples, let us understand XPath from the very beginning. I'll put the link to my GitHub playbook at the bottom of the video description, and you can try all the examples from there.
Welcome. Today we're talking about XPath for test automation, and I want you to think of it as your own personal GPS for web pages. You know, in test automation, finding that one right element on a page, it can feel like you're searching for a needle in a haystack. So today, we're going to dig into XPath. It's this amazing tool that's basically a super-powered GPS for pinpointing any element with incredible precision.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever struggled to find that one button on a web page for your automated test? Come on, we've all been there, right? You're just staring at the screen, completely baffled. Like, why can't my script click that simple button that's sitting right there? It is honestly one of the most common and, let's be real, one of the most maddening frustrations in all of test automation.
And what happens? Well, your tests break. You end up wasting so much time debugging locators. When those locators are weak, your tests just get flaky and unreliable. You know the drill. You spend more time fixing what's broken than actually building anything new. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be like this. There is a much, much better way.
All right, let's get into it. That better way? It's XPath. Think of it as your page GPS. Now look, you should always go for a simple, unique ID if you can get one. But for everything else, XPath is your indispensable tool. It's this powerful language that lets you navigate any web page with total precision. It gives you the power to find literally any element, no matter how deep it's buried or how few unique things it has going for it.
So what is XPath, really? Well, officially, it stands for XML Path Language. It's basically a query language that's designed to navigate an HTML document structure, you know, what developers call the DOM tree. It's a lot like using directions on a map. XPath follows a specific path through all that code to find exactly what you're looking for, weaving through the page's complex hierarchy.
Okay, so there are two paths to your destination here. On one hand, you have absolute XPath. This is like giving the full, exact, step-by-step address all the way from the root of the page. It's long and it's super brittle. I mean, if a dev adds just one new div somewhere in that path, boof, your locator is broken. Then you've got relative XPath. This is the one you want. It's a direct path from anywhere on the page. It's flexible, it's shorter, and it is so much more robust. Honestly, this is the professional standard. Just don't use absolute paths.
All right, so now that we know we're sticking with relative paths, let's start building out your toolkit for writing your first queries. We're going to cover the basic functions you'll use to find exactly what you need. These are the workhorses you'll be using day in and day out. First up, we've got the text function. This one's your go-to when you want to grab an element based on the exact visible text. You know, what the user actually sees. Think a submit button or a home link. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. It needs an exact match. It's case sensitive, and it has to match the entire text content, every space, every character.
So let's see it in action. This little piece of code right here, it's finding a link element. That's the A tag, where the text is exactly home.
You're basically telling the browser, hey, look anywhere on this page for a link and give me the one that says home. That's it. It's clean, it's super readable, and for any element that has static text, it's incredibly effective. Okay, but what happens when the text isn't static, or what if you only want to match part of it? Well, that's where the contains function comes in and becomes an absolute lifesaver. Instead of demanding an exact match, contains just checks if an element's text or one of its attributes contains a certain piece of text. For anything with dynamic content, this is invaluable.
Here's a classic example you'll see all the time. Imagine a button's ID changes every time the page loads. One minute it's btn-save123, the next it's btn-save new. If you tried to match that exactly, your test would fail constantly. But by using an XPath like this, you just lock on to that stable part, btn-save, and suddenly your tests are way more resilient to those changes.
And right along those same lines, we have the starts with function. This one is your best friend when you've got a predictable prefix, but the rest of the attribute is totally unpredictable. So say you know an ID will always begin with user-something or other. Well, starts with gives you a really precise and stable way to find it every single time.
Okay, so everything we've talked about so far has been about finding elements directly. But here's the big question. What if the element you need has no unique ID, but an element near it does? This, my friends, is where the real power of XPath gets unlocked. We're talking about XPath axes. These are the advanced moves. This is what takes XPath from just being a selector to a true navigation system, letting you move up, down, and sideways through the page's structure.
And the best way to think about this is like navigating a family tree. It makes so much sense. For example, parent moves you up one step to the immediate parent. Ancestor, descendant, is even more powerful. It lets you move up to find any parent, grandparent, you name it. Need to go sidewise? Following-sibling finds the very next element at the same level. And if you need to find something inside an element, descendant will find any child, grandchild, anything nested within it.
And this right here is why axes are absolute game changers. Let's say you've got this real-world problem. You need to find a whole table, but the table itself doesn't have a unique ID. What do? Well, here's the trick. You find something inside that table that is unique, like a table cell that says price. From there, you just use the ancestor/table axis to travel back up the family tree until you hit the table that contains it. Boom, problem solved with total precision.
Okay, so now you have the tools, let's talk strategy, because this is important. We're getting into pro tips and best practices now. See, knowing how to write XPath is one thing, but writing XPath like an expert, making it robust, readable, and easy to maintain, that's what really separates the pros from the amateurs. And the goal here is super simple. We want to write locators that don't break every single time the UI gets a minor update. We're trying to eliminate flaky tests, right? A great locator should be resilient. It shouldn't care if a developer adds a new banner or shuffles a few things around. Let's make this crystal clear by looking at a brittle locator versus a robust one. The brittle XPath relies on element order. You know, the third div, the first row, the fourth cell. That is a maintenance nightmare just waiting to happen. The robust XPath, on the other hand, relies on unique attributes. It finds the table by its ID, and then it finds the cell that contains the text username. See the difference? One is a fragile house of cards, the other is built on a solid foundation.
So how can you write great XPath every single time? Just follow this maintainability checklist. First, always prefer unique attributes like an ID or a name whenever you possibly can. Second, avoid those absolute paths like the plague. They rely on the entire page structure and they will break. Third, anchor your search from a nearby stable element. This is key. Fourth, use functions like contains of and starts with for any of those dynamic attributes. And finally, combine conditions with and to get even more specific. It makes your locators super reliable.
And that really brings us to the final big question. The next time you're writing a locator, I want you to stop and ask yourself, is my XPath a fragile liability or is it a robust asset? Am I creating something that's just going to break next week and cause headaches, or am I building something that's going to keep my tests stable and reliable for the long haul? The choice, and now the tools to make that choice, are all yours.